Morning, fellas. Welcome to Lasting Legacies, reflection of Black fatherhood. Today we are talking about generational fatherhood, and I'm excited. We don't usually get these conversations with ourselves and, amongst other Black men, so this is going to be a good one today, for sure. So quick survey of the room. Raise your hand if you did grow up with a father figure. Okay, raise your hand if you did not. Okay, cool. For those who had a father figure, how would you describe that relationship and how did that relationship impact your view on fatherhood?
For me, my dad, he been there my whole life. He's still there now. It allowed me to kind of filter the outside world from my experience. And a lot of times there was a lot of bad mouthing of Black men. And I realized a lot of the fight that I've had was standing up for how I saw my dad, and he wasn't a lot of the stereotypes that people were saying. So it helped mold me to be more like him in that sense, to be there for the family. But it wasn't just providing physical things, it was providing those things like morals, values, how to go about it. And in those tricky situations, how can I still stand my ground for a safe space for other people to come to?
It was highly impactful and it was, to me, positive, right? Because my mother was there, but she didn't really raise me per se, because my dad was full on, my uncles were on, the other guys in the neighborhood were full on. So all I saw was Black men from different worlds, judges, lawyers, dope boys. I had it all. I had the best of all the world.
That's so diverse, man.
Yeah, I was blessed.
And you kind of need that. That kind of keeps molds you.
So I was lucky.
It's interesting for me as I got older, I got to appreciate that as I became a dad. And you look back at what I was provided as a kid from both my father and my stepfather. It's really a blessing to have, both of those. So, I really appreciate that learning curve of seeing my father provide for me and my mom. So I get emotional thinking about it because I know he went through that. He went through to make sure he provided for us. So.
You probably get emotional because you know what it takes now.
Yeah. You can appreciate it. Like I'm saying, as you get older, as I got older, I look back and was like, I could see the sacrifice and I could see what he did and for what both of them did for me. So it really gets emotional. So I appreciate that.
My dad and my mom got together, got married, and had 8 kids. So I want to eat.
8.
I want to eat.
80
8. So
A lot of milk and cereal.
it was a lot. I mean, fortunately, when I came, they had figured it out and had their finances pretty well.
So you one of the younger?
I'm number 7 of 8. So I got a bunch of older siblings that I love and care for, of course. But yeah, my dad was a hustler. He was an entrepreneur. He owned different real estate offices and stuff like that. So just kind of being in a car with him and understanding now as a businessman, like just little things, like when he used to pick up the phone, he would say, "Hello, this Mac," and I was like, "Why is he picking up the phone like that? Like, what do you say to me? Like, hello, yo, what's up?" Stuff like little stuff like that you pick up, and you don't even notice it until you get older and get in your world, and you're like, "Where did I get this from? Why is it happening?" Why does it happen? It's cool. And then I also understand now, he'll come home from a long day of work, and he'd be like, "Why is the trash not empty? Why is this?" Like, I be feeling that way. Like, what's going? And I live alone. Well, with my daughter, my broke roommate. But but I understand it now. So for those who didn't have a father in their lives, how do you think that impacted your fatherhood now?
It's hard to say, man, because I'm kind of late to the game and even realizing that I needed a father growing up. I think my wife pulled me to the side about maybe 3 years ago. She said, "Babe, I love you so much, but it's like a piece of you that it seems like it's struggling. I think you need a father figure." And the first thing that came to my mind was to get defensive. Because you grow up without everything
did it
that
so
y'all
far,
added.
yeah.
Yeah, all these things that you all just shared, all these pieces, these comprehensive pieces of the man that you've become. if you don't have it growing up, you don't
know
see it.
you don't know you missed it.
Yeah, you
You
know,
don't
like
know.
you live in the hood and they assume everybody poor and
Poor,
feel
right,
poor.
right.
Well, when everybody around you is poor, you don't really feel poor.
Right.
Because comparatively,
Yeah.
you know, you just along with
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else.
We average.
So that poverty isn't just monetary though. You know, it's also the experiences you have in life. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized I spent a long time in my life saying, I don't need no father. I got it by myself. I got it out the mud, that hyper independence that men walk with sometimes. And I finally let my guard down and realized, like, yeah, I did need that. And what I realized is it builds a level, I'm not gonna say built and act like I'm over it, because it's something I'm still working through. It builds a level of resentment in you when you have to father with no template. You gotta be a husband with no
No time.
partnership template.
Right.
You know, my mom did an incredible job, but me being a parent now, she was one person. She had nobody to bounce anything off of. She had the final say. So even if she was wrong, she wasn't wrong.
Right.
There was
She
no
wasn't.
counter opinion.
The question said, how was your experience, growing up without a father? That manhood training, that's the number one piece I think that's missing, because you can get it from different ways, and I have some excellent like father figures around me, but you don't see it day in and day out, and they don't pour into you in that way day in and day out, to where like you graduate through life and you're like, okay, I can handle this now. I saw this. I know what it feels like, what it looks like, especially in a family dynamic where you have other women, like other kids, like all that stuff. You step into this environment, it's like
I would almost
you the
imagine
man,
that
right?
it's counterintuitive for you to kind of want to go, seek a mentor or something like that, because
Absolutely.
you've gotten here, you're good men, you've gotten here, you won in life, so to
Yeah.
speak, but you did it without the male figure up to now. So it's like you did everything to win now, and then it's almost counterintuitive to, almost have to reach out or want to reach out.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Especially if you land in a place economically where you're doing all right for yourself.
Yeah.
Because then everybody wants to learn up under you.
Yeah. Now you're that.
Yeah, it's, how you gonna seek shade when you the tallest tree in the valley, man? Who you gonna hide up under to get some refuge? So yeah, I think
imagine
you're
that.
right on that.
I think it's also so important to have an older male figure tell you that they love you.
Oh, no doubt,
You
bro.
know, that's a major thing that I experienced that, I don't take it for granted at all, because I realize it doesn't happen. I was in church the other day and the pastor said it, and I was like, dang, I never even thought, like, it was a men's night, and he was just like, and I love you. If you never had a male figure tell you that, I'm telling you now. And I was like, that is so impactful.
So for those of you who are co-parenting now.
We're the
How do you-
shallows now.
What? We're the dogs now. How do you navigate those relationships and dynamics?
Wow. I'll jump in. I think, for me, my situation was one where I think at a certain point in our lives, we were young. I was young when I had my kids. I was 18. And I think at that point, we weren't mature enough to kind of deal with it. So I think for me, the kids were kind of being used against me in a way. My first instinct was to take the power away that, she assumed she had by having the kids, which meant me getting the kids. So I think even though that turned out to be the biggest blessing, it wasn't necessarily for the right reasons I was jumping in and doing that. It was to kind of just take that power away. But I think that kind of put us in a level playing field. Like now we have to co-parent. Now we have to do this, right? And I think we never had we never were married or anything like that, but we got to a point where we could raise our kids. And I think that was just a maturity thing that came with that co-parent. I think you almost have to for the kids. And the one thing, my kids are older, like I told y'all now, and they can look back and they make up their own minds. You don't have to speak on it. You don't have to say anything. You know what I mean? They see it. And they look back now, and when we talk, they see the maturity from what we were as parents, and how, I would never speak bad about their mom, no matter what was going on. I wouldn't say it was, given back to me, right? But that now is what, the kids know that. They understand that. So I think it's important to have that, you know, even if in my situation where we weren't together. You got to have a certain level of co-parenting there. It's very unfair to the kids, and I think you got to look at it and start from that viewpoint.
Well, I'll jump in there. So I had my first child 23, and we got married.
Mm.
Right? So I thought I was doing the right thing. Once again, I had these father figures around me. Make a baby. All right, let me marry this woman, right? And it did not work because of youth. We were young. I was in my 20s, wilding.
Wow, oh yeah.
Wilding, right? I shouldn't be married at 23 years old. What was I thinking about? But it's a full circle moment for me because this question really speaks to me because professionally, that's what I do. I help people co-parent every day at the highest level in Washington, D.C., right? And the biggest part about co-parenting, because I work within a child support agency, right, is communication, right? High level, effective communication. Most people are mad at the child support system. I'll be like, don't be mad at the child support system. It's only here because you can't communicate with her. That's what it's here for, right? And then if you look around, it's us. And a lot of white folks in there, but they break up with their ladies every day, right? But for some reason in our culture, we don't know how to communicate. So when it comes to that co-parenting aspect, like you said as well, it's very important that you do not speak ill on the mother of your child, right? Because once they get older, they can tell who's who.
That's all. Yeah.
They can tell, all right? But the key is effective communication.
I think the unfortunate part about that, I'm a therapist by trade, so I always say I've never met a person who's as good of a communicator as they think they are. Ever. Never met a person who's as good of a communicator as they imagine they are in their mind. Be it man, woman, it does not matter. Black, white, it does not matter. So I think that adds another level of difficulty onto it. Besides, man, is like we're talking about a child, which is so odd because you have two people who feel an ownership over this individual, but the way that you get to that ownership is two completely different ways. And when in counseling, sometimes when I'm talking to moms who have to co-parent, I'm like, damn, I get it. Like, I carried this baby for 9 months, thought I was going to die a few times. My brain different, my body's different, everything's different. My lifestyle is different. And now you think you have the same rights to this thing as me? You tripping, bro. Especially if we can't have a conversation and find common ground to be amicable. And then you talk to the men, it's like, so there's this expectation of me to do this thing in lockstep with you, but I don't have any of the voice. I don't have any of the validation. I don't have any of the reassurance, any of the community. And then once you have this kid, it's on me to be your support system, where I can't find your mom or your aunt or your grandma or your daddy or any of these other people that need to pour in as well.
All right. Have you noticed any differences in the way you communicate, discipline, or bond with your children based on their gender? If so, what are they?
I make daughters, two beautiful daughters. And I'm over here like, come here, like, what you doing? Like, nah. My wife is like, whoa, 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 no. You can't, that tough love don't work here. You might have to hug her, I love you, show affection. And,
That's real.
And then a lot of that affection wasn't given to me younger. Even from my mother, she was it, but she was tough with it. Like, nah, you gonna do X, Y, and Z. You know, this is how we're gonna survive out here, right? But now my daughters, they're not in survival mode where we live at. I got a fence, grass, quarter acre land. She running from eagles and birds. You know what I'm saying? So I said, the parenting is totally different now, and I had to learn that from my wife now. Like, hey, you have to be affectionate. You are too rough. You're too tough on them. You know, like I take my youngest daughter, I put in the headlock. Come here, what's wrong with you? Right? Like, and she like, Daddy, what you doing? Like, so, but that affection is needed.
Man, I got two daughters.
I got one.
I think I might be in the minority here. I wish that we could flip that ideology, and I think it's fine you put your daughter in the headlock.
That's what I'm talking about. I knew I was doing good.
I think that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely fine. But also I think it's fine if when your son falls, you hug him, give him a kiss, and tell him it's okay. Like, how many of us ever been told we're beautiful by somebody who wasn't trying to have sex with us? A lot of the complexes that men have is from boys not this idea that, boy, you got to be rough and hard with boys because the world is hard, and with girls, you know, that's your boo boo shmoo shmoo. And it's, I think, like, girls are capable, man.
Yep.
Girls are plenty capable. They can take my daughter. She's 6. She pulls the luggage off the rack when we go to the airport, even when it's heavy. She's not a damsel, bro.
Right.
She's capable. She's strong. She's smart. My bros, when they come through, nephew, what's up, nephew? Give him a kiss on the forehead. Man, your locks look good, man. You so handsome, bro.
Like you said, you have to teach your daughter some of that, right? And it has to be a certain level that it can't be all just hugs and kisses all the time.
Of course.
Because they're not going to grow up in the world correctly, right?
But I'm not just raising daughters, I'm raising comprehensive humans.
Yep.
You know, I don't feel the need to gender everything. Like, yeah, they girls, cool, but they still have to, they gotta learn. It's not just about, this is the way a man's supposed to treat you. Nah, it's plenty of women who have a lot of friend trauma. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How will other women,
Yeah.
how are you gonna baseline how other women treat you? How you allow people to come into your life and treat, it's not just about what men are gonna do.
man.
Taking my daughter to Belize, so your son taking her to Cheesecake Factory
yeah.
on the president. I hope that if my daughter likes somebody and they take her to Cheesecake Factory, she enjoys herself.
Right,
The food is good and consistent.
Yeah.
That part.
Every time. Every time. It's one.
Yeah.
Every time.
I think for me, I only have a girl, but for me, it's not even about being soft. It's just being more emotionally aware.
There we go.
And
Yeah.
and available. So for us, we think of that as soft because we grew up a certain type of way, but that's really what it's about for boys or girls, I think.
I got 3 daughters. I got a 2.5-year-old and 2 1-month twins. I'm only 2.5 years in the game, for real. Call it what it is. What I've noticed is it's very different for girls than it is for boys. And that's why I get the pedestalization or the softness. A lot of the guys I know can just detach from the feelings are boys. I teach yoga to mindfulness, that's just the long short of it, to high school, middle school for the most part, but also some elementary school as well. And the main thing I've noticed with the difference between the girls and the boys, they just have a different perspective. If you give them a mission, some of the bumps and bruises along the way will fall away. So yes, the boys do need a little bit more reassurance. So like how you were saying, it can be some things aesthetic. It can be, oh, you looking good today, or you fly today. I see you got them new shoes. Little things like that to like draw them in and make them feel confident in themselves, in their body, and their clothes. And for some of the women, it is, since a lot of the societal perspective is they're soft, giving them those affirmations that, like you were saying, that they're strong, they're powerful, they're intelligent, you're capable. And so it's kind of like finding that tightrope between amplifying or pointing out the positive feminine and masculine qualities in each, and not just overbearing on one. Just because you're a boy, I'm not just going to give you all the masculine aspects. I'm also going to give you some of the softer aspects of things. I'm going to tell you you're looking good. I'm going to tell you when you're crying or something that it's okay to cry. He understands for the most part that you really don't want to be crying and expressing yourself when you need to be acting. But if this is one of those times where you can, then we need to acknowledge it and affirm it for them so they know when is the right time for them to cry and when is the right time for them to wipe the tears, act, and then handle it when they finish.
You know, as parents, we're always growing and developing, right? And you don't even realize certain things from, your parents that you're doing with your children. So my dad had a temper, and you mess up, you're getting yelled at. That's just what it is. You're getting yelled at. So my daughter kicked over a cup. I just made myself a little drink, kicked the cup over right on the rug. I yelled, and she immediately like froze and like looked at me and started crying. I'm like, yikes! Like, I feel like such an asshole. I shouldn't have put the cup on the thing anyway, but it's just like, it's just little things like that. You have to learn how to address it, and it's just growing as a parent. I think sometimes we have to be more patient with ourselves as we grow into our parents. Oh, for sure.
I use a lot of the triggers that I had as guide markers for how I'm raising.
What you mean?
The things that my parents did that triggered me, I'm using that as a guide marker to not do to my child. The children. That's new.
You said 1 month, right?
Yeah, man, we still not sleeping.
I was about to ask how much. Yeah, you in the supreme ghetto, brother.
It's
Got
ratchet.
17 months of the supreme ghetto.
Yeah, with two of them, it's a situation. But I love them. My parents weren't really yellers. They get real quiet. And once you can hear the background noise of the room you're in, that's when it was like, oh shit, I'm about to get my ass beat. I have kind of changed that dynamic. That's not how I am, especially with girls. I was talking about like, what would the long-term effects be? Even thinking about, oh, well, my dad beat me, so maybe my partner should too. Whoa, pump the brakes.
I've heard that
Let's
too.
look at this
I've
a little
heard
bit
that too.
more,
I've heard
right?
that too.
So I don't want to go in with that, but at the same time, I've realized the determination is on par with mine. And you can be determined about the wrong things. I still need to guide you to the right path. So sometimes she needs a little, let me see your hand. It could be something as simple as that. I'm not gonna change and act angry with you. No, I'm gonna keep the same calm face the entire time, and that's where it comes in.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. If I don't want to derail the conversation, but I appreciate your honesty. We live in a different time. I maybe got my ass whooped twice coming up, but I ain't do too much. Yeah, I didn't come from a whipping house.
Every day.
Stayed out the way. Like
Right?
just, you know,
Yeah, I wasn't no trouble.
I just ain't caused no trouble. The respect was there.
Yeah.
Like, I knew what the consequence was,
I
so I
like the
stayed out
bunny.
the way.
Respect.
No, but I say that because like discipline in that way, it's a way of establishing respect. So like the generational aspect that's happening here, like we're talking about how we're navigating differently. Like if we're not whooping for real, you have to build or garner that respect in a different way.
Yeah.
So that's why I put quotes.
What I find from people that, especially black men that come to therapy who got a lot of ass whooping, sometimes we attribute that to structure, and that's fine. And I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. That's your internal reference. But there was another piece of those ass whoopings that were missing. And that's the piece you're talking about, the corrective action piece. And I always ask, well, who are those whippings for? How could you tell the difference between them wanting you to do right and them just being frustrated about their lives? Where's the line drawn? How do you know how much of that was about you and how much of that was about them? And often people don't know, and that's because your parents probably didn't know too. So what I do with my little one, she do something, I'll grab her hand, and it's just firm enough to be uncomfortable, but it's not so firm that it hurts you. And I look her right in the face, and I tell her that, hey, that wasn't nice what you just did. We talk about how to do it different. Hey, I ain't one of the Instagram perfect parents who's like, okay, honey, I really understand. You know, like the supreme model of gentle parenting. That ain't me. I'm somewhere in betwixt. You know what I'm saying? But I just try to have that corrective piece and then that love piece on the back end, because it's not just, I'm not going to just do that Tuesday. I'm going to do that 5 times Tuesday and 5 times Wednesday and 5 times Thursday. And if I get frustrated enough, I get it. It's easy to, that's the first, I get it. I understand why they did it. I get it.
Where have you found joy in parenting? And it's something that I struggle with. It was a little difficult. You know, a lot of it was cool. You're older, you get all those moments, but I feel like I didn't really connect with my daughter until maybe like 7, 8 months. You know, like when I actually felt a real genuine connection. And I think sometimes moms, they feel it off rip because they done had the baby for 9 months and you're constantly coddling them and breastfeeding and all that stuff. So that took a little while. And then, you know, as she was getting older, me and the mom would argue a lot. So now I'm correlating with parenting with just arguing, court. It was a very hard thing to, you know what I'm saying, really start grasping the joy of it. I think it came over time. I think it came from actually getting the time that I wanted. And now I get joy all the time. She's 3. We have conversations. We go to the playground. It's just, you know, you get the natural joy of them saying silly things. But I think that we always just correlate parenthood, fatherhood, joy, happiness. And I just didn't get that at first. I was like, dang, like, am I missing something? Like, is this something that, and I was calling people like, yo, like, did you feel this way too? Like, and that's why I think it's also so important to have conversations with and have mentors that also have had kids and stuff like that. Because if you don't have that, you get lost quick.
Yeah, that reads. Yeah. Oh, snap.
It is
It's on
you.
me.
All
right.
All eyes on you.
It's like,
Everybody's
oh,
like,
that's a sign. The eyes are a sign. My question, we know that parenting is not easy. How do you prioritize taking care of yourself and your mental health? I mean, that's right up my lane, for real. And it has still been a challenge. Time just dwindles away for most of the time during the day. But I still have my same principles intact. I need to do something for my mind, something for my body, and something for my energy every day. So that's some type of movement. I practice yoga, so it's typically starting with the sun salutations, doing some type of flow to get my body in flow. When my body's in flow, my mind more easily goes in flow. I need to sit, meditate, clear the apps, close them, so I can have more access to my mental capacity throughout the day, because the kids are demanding.
I need to write this down.
If I move the body, the mind's more flexible and more loose. I can go from one thought, one sensation, one image, one feeling to the next, and I can actually manage my reactions and my responses to life. So those are and breath work. The most important source of energy our body needs. Jesus did 40 days without food. 40 days. We can go 172 hours without water. But I don't know anyone going 172 minutes without air. So it clearly has some type of energetic fuel for us. So breathwork practices. So I am calm and I can recognize when I'm not.
How do you plan on instilling that in your kids? I know they're young now, but like, how does that flow? Because I don't know.
Monkey see, monkey do. That's the biggest one. This is what I do. So my oldest daughter, wow, that's interesting. My oldest daughter comes with me. She's been coming with me to teach in the morning at like 5 a.m. since she's been 4 months old. So you check the social media and everything. She be in there doing a little sun salutation.
Right,
She be meditating with me and everything. Only thing I haven't gotten her into yet is the sound baths, because I got crystal singing bowls, and we working on careful and gentle and slow. Them jumps ain't cheap. Like, I'm just saying. I feel the role of the father is to create a space for your children, especially for the daughters. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to like curate the entire thing for them, but create a space for them to come out and express so you can see what they like to do.
All right, so this question will be around the time you found out your partner was pregnant, right? So what were your feelings surrounding it based on your desire to be a dad at the time, and how was the childbirth experience for you? So for me, you know, I'm with someone who records just about everything that's worth recording. So I have a video of my response, but it was presented to me in the form of a gift, and I opened up the box, and you know there was the stick, if you will. So when I first looked at it, you know, it's hard for me to process things sometimes. My feelings don't always flow. So I looked at it, and everything in me just skipped a beat. Like my mind, my body, like everything just stopped, and I froze. I was like, oh snap, this is what we doing? Okay. And then I was instantly like, I was probably afraid in the moment. That's probably the actual feeling. Then I looked up, and you know, she's in the corner with the phone up like to her face, and she's like, she don't know how I'm gonna react. She's scared, like, and I saw the fear and everything all over her, and she's shaking. And so I went to her, and I was like, I gave her a hug, and I embraced her, and I was like, we gonna be all right. We're not married. Like this wasn't part of the plan. Like we had talked about kids, you know, but we weren't ready yet.
Yeah, you
Feel
always
me?
talk about the kids sometimes.
Yeah. Like, you know, what do you want to do, or how do you want to create? But anyway, so I embraced her in that moment. It was like, everything gonna be all right. Like we gonna be good. You know, but at the same time, I'm like, how do we gotta figure this out. like, you know, and I'm a I'm a pastor's child, a grandchild. So I grew up a certain type of way. We not married. So like some of these other feelings start to come, like some shame and other people's thoughts and feelings. And
I need to get married.
yeah, and it's just like I just had to figure out how to channel all that, but then at the same time show up the best way I could. And once my daughter was here, like so in the childbirth experience, it's a blur, to be honest with you. My girlfriend, she went through preeclampsia, so we were in the hospital for like a week before she even had the baby. So that was a whole experience in itself, and not really knowing how it's gonna go. I don't even know what preeclampsia is. Like, we talked about it, blood pressure high, the baby could be in danger, like all that stuff. So I'm just in the room just trying to be supportive, however I can. And so by the time we get there and baby coming. So we were grateful. It was, safe, healthy delivery and all, but it's scary. All I remember is just hair.
Right.
Hair is coming.
That's crazy.
And it's just like, it's showtime. So, but a lot happened in them 8 to 9 months leading up to all that. But yeah, so.
Story sound like mine, brother. I mean, like, even the whole embracing we gonna be all right. I don't know why I told her that, because I ain't believe that shit at all. I don't know why I told her that.
Right.
That just came on my
Came
mouth.
out naturally, right?
Man, I
Yeah.
sounded confident, but it was not there, brother. Believe me. What's crazy is that feeds into my question. My question is, what aspects of parenthood do you wish you had a better understanding of before becoming a father? And I think you just said it. And like, we all kind of say this thing like, they're a blessing. They're a blessing. You got to preface it with the good thing first before you say the real thing.
You say anything else.
Yeah. Hey, I love my kids.
Yep.
The butt coming. Yeah, the butt coming. You got to
ass.
qualify it first. My mom was a single mom, and she did a phenomenal job. I may be a little biased, but I think she did an incredible job. One thing I noticed once I became a parent was how little I saw her struggle. And even though in the moment that's great to hide that from your kid, I wish I would have been privy to how much of a grind parenthood is, man. Yeah, it don't let up. Like, it's one thing for it to, and I think I said it earlier, Monday is hard and Tuesday is hard, but you have great moments, of course, but it's always hard. I wish I had more of that understanding, because you battle with it. At least I battle with it. I'll speak for myself, where it's these two very true things happening at the same time. Your child is an incredible blessing, but parenthood can be an incredible burden sometimes to your dreams, to your self-image, to your goals. And some people are like, no, you can't say parenthood is a burden. Well, if that exists in my mind and heart and I don't say it, then I'm being disingenuous at that point. Right. I got to say the real thing out loud, and it's okay. It's okay. And I'm at the point now where I'm comfortable saying that. It don't work for me sometimes, man. And I wish I would have, had more comprehensive understanding of that before I embarked on this journey.
That's real.
Not, bro.
Yeah, there's no pause, there's no give backs.
Like, my anxiety is crazy today, but you gonna scream? Okay. Look at you gonna scream too, so both of y'all gonna scream. All right. My wife ain't sleep either? Okay. All right. Getting it from all angles now. It could be a lot, man. But it's a blessing, though. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing. All right, I'm gonna keep it going. My question: what advice would you give younger generations of Black men and fathers based on your journey and experiences? For me, my kids are in their 30s now, right? We joked about it a little earlier, but so I think we all come from the same spot. It was all scary. No matter what generation you're in, it's the first time for all of us. So I think we all said it, it's scary. Reach out to somebody, don't be afraid of that. And make sure people went through it before you. Be present. Use social media, but don't let that raise your kids. like I said, my kids in their 30s, so I'm not like fathering them and babying them, but you're still present in their life. You're still the major influence. So just accept that all the way through. This is going to be a lifelong thing, hopefully for you. And start off with that mentality, knowing that this is a process that's going to be 30, 40, 50 years in the making.
How has becoming a parent helped you heal and grow? And this is a tough one for me because my mother passed when I was 19, right? And when my mother passed, I was broken, right? I stopped believing in God. I questioned everything and everybody. I was doing everything up under the sun. But when I had my child, I saw the light. Not that light, God, but I saw a beautiful light that said, hey, I'm living for someone right now. It's time to heal, right? It's time to change the way I think. You know, I'm 23 now. I was 23, had to become a man quick, quote unquote. Had to buy a house, get a job. At 23, provide, right? And then I'm living in Baltimore City. I don't want her to go to the Baltimore City schools, no disrespect to Baltimore City schools, but she wasn't going to that. So I had to put her in private school. So I'm paying at 26, 27 years old, $1,000 a month.
Can't cook.
Getting cooked. Cook!
Can't cook.
So the healing began to, processing, but one part of me, I was still young. The youth was still catching me. I might have been healing, but I wasn't growing.
That is a crazy distinction right there, bro.
I wasn't growing. I was healing from my mother. I think I'm doing the right thing. But mentally, I wasn't growing because I was still outside. Come on. Shawn Caesar know. He know where I was at. I was outside. I wasn't growing mentally. I'm a boy, right? I might have the family, might look good, driving good cars, young, but I wasn't growing at all. And it wasn't until maybe 31, 32, and it hit me. It said, you have to grow up.
That's about the age for us.
That's where everybody
31, 32, that seems to be a turning point.
33, you a whole nother
You have
human
to
at
grow
that.
up.
Yeah. So.
And I missed out on those years with my youngest. I was there every day, but I wasn't doing the right thing, right? I wasn't doing it right. I could have been a better father, better husband at that time. I was married too. I was married at 23, like I said. So my life flipped, but I wasn't doing everything right as to be growing as a human being in my eyes, right? So when 31, 32 came, that's when the growth started to come. My children helped me grow over time. And I want you to understand that even the growth, I'm gonna go back to communication, right? Your children, you cannot communicate with your child the same way when she's 4, the same way she's 16. You have to reevaluate how you communicate. And that even goes with your mates.
I think this was enlightening, especially for my generation. To see everybody be honest and vulnerable, I think is very helpful. It feels good to be able to kind of express some of that stuff, stuff I'd never talk about.
My misery loves company, man. I need to know I'm not the only one in my situation.
Right.
It feels like it lightens the load to know that other people are going through similar things in different spaces, man. So I felt seen and heard, man. Having this conversation with y'all boys. Appreciate that.
I'm the youngest one on the couch. So I'm really looking, and I'm a part of the conversation, but I'm also inspired, I think, by listening to what y'all are saying. I had my child at 23. So like, I'm really listening to your story and like kind of walking through that. I'm almost 30 now. Just for anybody watching, listening at a young age, going through this, like, it ain't easy. It's a mess, right? But you navigate it with grace as best you can. But this has been just really inspiring, I think, for me.
I think it was definitely liberating. I got some stuff off. It felt comfortable. Like everybody kind of opened up. And it became like a very televised, safe space. So I learned. I was just sponging everything up.
Same.
I'm gonna meditate in the morning. When I get home, you know what I'm saying?
You be hanging.
My bad, good brother.
Almost missed that one.
So I think, I think it was. This was great. This was great, and I appreciate it.
Everybody got that little man. Yo, with me. Yo, my guy. Hey, man, love it. I'm back, bro. No step.